I'm really happy to share some moments with you today and to be a part of this important event and actually to open the conference on European border management, defense, security and migration. Let me start by sharing you with my personal drama. I could never imagine when I was designated commissioner 2.5 years ago that the two main issues of my portfolio, migration and security, would be on the top, not of the European, of the global agenda. If this event had taken place at that time, Europe would be better protected in front of this unprecedented situation. So, we all know that these two topics are very top, as I said, on global interest. Two issues in particular: fighting terrorism and better managing migration are the two main concerns of the citizens of Europe today. These are issues that touch directly their right to life on a daily basis. The recent tragic events in London show not only how closely some of these issues affect us, but also how divisive they can be. The horrendous attack in Borough Market and London Bridge, and the attack this week near the mosque at Finsbury Park are equally horrifying. We all know that terrorism has no face, no skin color, no religion. Any form of terrorism and violence is intolerable. Europe has had to deal with two parallel and simultaneous crises on migration and security, as I told you in the beginning. While not connected, both issues are today putting in question the very fundaments and cohesion of our European Union, our unity. However, if anything has become clear over the past 2 years, it is that we can only manage these issues together, with trust and unity. Instead, we see a rise in extremist voices, in nationalism and populism. Voices that are calling to close our borders, to build fences, to push people out. But this is not what our citizens really want. Yes, our citizens want to feel safe and secure, but not at the expense of their mobility. Last week, as you all know, we celebrated 32 years of Schengen. 32 years of internal movement within the Schengen area without controls. And yet, this quintessential European achievement is at stake today. I want to be very frank with you. The end of Schengen would mark the beginning of the end of Europe. As we celebrated 60 years since the Treaty of Rome, we have to commemorate our achievements and remind ourselves not to take them for granted. It is true that circumstances have changed, but so has the response. We have to evolve and build on our achievements, not overthrow them. To continue with the example of Schengen, we have strengthened Schengen, but we have kept its essence, investing on everything, all our efforts, to return to a normal functioning again as soon as possible. We have created a European Borders and Coast Guard by expanding and strengthening what many of you know as Frontex. Now we have more than 1,600 border staff deployed in Greece, in Italy, but also Bulgaria, helping these countries to better manage, to better protect their borders. At the same time, we have introduced systematic checks at the external borders for anyone crossing, including EU citizens. We have proposed an entry-exit system to reinforce border check procedures for non-EU nationals traveling to the European Union. We have also proposed a European travel information and authorization system which will allow us to carry out additional security and irregular migration checks for non-EU visa-free travelers before their travel to Europe. But, ladies and gentlemen, let me be again very clear. We are not building a fortress Europe. We want Europe to be safe, but we also want Europe to remain open. Europe was built on the values of openness, tolerance, solidarity, and responsibility sharing. These fundamentals should not change. Today is World Refugee Day. More than 65 million people are displaced right now globally. To those who question or criticize our approach, I wish to say that this is not about open borders. This is about respecting our international obligation to offer protection to those in need. But for this, we need a European and global approach. If we want to be able to continue to offer real, effective, and quick protection to those who need it, we have to stem the irregular, uncontrollable flows. And this is what all our efforts are under the European Agenda on Migration during the last 2 years. Reforming our asylum system and relocating only those who are really in need of protection. Investing in resettlement so that identified and screened candidates come legally and safely. Improving returns for those who have no right to stay here. Reinforcing our partnership with key partner countries, such as Turkey, but also the Western Balkans, and also countries in North and Sub-Saharan Africa to fight smuggling and irregular migration routes and to improve returns. Building hotspots to register, screen, and fingerprint every single person arriving at our external borders and sharing this information in our databases with all member states in case of security alerts. If we really want to maintain our openness, we need to know who is crossing our borders for whichever reason. This information and the way we share it between us is key. That is why for the past year, we have given top priority to making sure our information systems for borders, security, and migration talk to each other. This is critical in order to ensure that this information is not lost, so that border guards, law enforcement authorities, custom officials can make the right call at the right time with the necessary information at their fingertips. Again, this is first of all about trust. Sharing information with our partners could potentially stop a terrorist attack across the borders. Only if we feed this information through our information systems will other member states be able to take action on alerts that may come up. Next week, we will propose to reinforce our agency in charge of information sharing, EU-LISA, with more resources and a clear mandate to work on the interoperability of all our information systems. We need to step up cooperation on all fronts, to break up the old silo mentalities and to arrive at common solutions to common problems that affect all of us. PNR is a good example, the passenger's name record. This is the kind of information sharing on suspects of serious crime or terrorism that can prevent threats from materializing. And this is the kind of information we can share with our international partners, such as the United States, Canada, Mexico, to maximize the reach of security measures globally. The Schengen Information System is another case in point. It is our most successful information system, consulted millions of times per year. But this system will only be as valuable as the information we put into it. And here again, we go back to trust. The past 2 years, the experiences Europe has had with terrorism have been an eye-opener, I would say. The threat affects all of us equally. We all need to realize that it doesn't stop at our borders. Fragmentation makes us vulnerable. And this is exactly the mentality change we have been trying to achieve on the way to a genuine and effective security union. In good time, the building blocks of our security union should be the same for a defense union. External and internal threats are linked and should be dealt with collectivity. We need to give our member states the tools, the structures, and the resources to fight these threats better together. This does not, of course, change the fact that member states remain responsible for their national security. But which national security can we talk about when terrorists cross our national borders to plan, coordinate, and execute their crimes? I'll give you just a simple example. The perpetrators of the terrorist attacks in Paris, they managed to cross 3 Balkan countries. 3 members of the European Union arrived here in Brussels, set up their headquarters, and execute their crimes, their terrorist attacks in Paris. So there was a gap there, and this is what we want to fill right now. When the threat is transnational, our response can only be collective. Terrorism transcends our notion of the nation-state. But unfortunately, the nation-state still resists the so-called deep nation-state. We need to respond in the same way. This is the logic of putting Europol at the very center of our collective operations. An agency reinforced in resources and in expertise to provide all the support member states need to address the threats. With its own counter-terrorism center, Europol now guarantees 24/7 operation support to our member states. Of course, it is a fight that we cannot only fight on the ground or at our borders. As Daesh has started losing territory, our fight against terrorism increasingly takes place on the Internet. The Internet is an echo chamber, both for propaganda and for deadly skills. It is a catalyst for amplifying the terrorist message for recruitment, disseminating knowledge, and providing a platform for secure communications. It is urgent and indispensable that we achieve a step change in how we fight terrorism online. Europol, again, plays a crucial part in the partnership we set up with the Internet industry through the EU Internet Forum to take terrorist content off the Internet. Maybe you know that 2 years ago I took an initiative and I held here in Brussels the very first Internet Forum. The second one was an even bigger success. And recently I visited Internet companies in Silicon Valley, and we have established a trustful relation that has already started producing very positive and tangible results. We are already removing a lot of terrorist content. The Internet companies created a so-called database of hashes to ensure that terrorist material removed from one site will not be uploaded elsewhere. Now is time to take this work one step further. Next week, the Forum will meet again in order to redouble our efforts. We want to move towards more automation in fighting terrorism online, bringing more companies to our partnership, and cooperating better with law enforcement authorities. The problem, of course, does not end with the Internet. Recent attacks are showing both the alarming speed and the scale at which some citizens are getting radicalized. We clearly face a serious challenge which requires immediate and concerted actions. Threats do not only materialize from the outside, and these threats from the inside are the most frequent, serious, and difficult to stop. Our Radicalization Awareness Network has served us well since 2015. It's now time to rethink how we can enhance its impact on the ground. The results it can bring in stopping our own citizens from taking up arms against us. Just yesterday, it was a terrorist attempt. Just yesterday, the Radicalization Awareness Network produced guidance to help our member states tackle the challenge of returning foreign terrorist fighters. This is another example of how working together and sharing information can help us address this threat together. The lesson of the past 2 years for all of us has been that it's not just about core security measures. It is also not just about border or migration management. It's all of our actions taken together. Because if we do it together, the impact is greater. It's about how we manage to build, again, trust. Ultimately, this is about the cohesion of our union. We should never forget or take for granted the raison d'être of the Union. 60 years of peace, stability, and prosperity. This is what is really at stake today. And this is what extremists today are targeting, aiming to divide us. The challenges of security and migration will not go away anytime soon. We know it. They are already shaping and will continue to shape the future of our Union, the future of Europe. No country can or should deal with these challenges alone. History will judge our generation by the way we respond. Our response, conclusion, should be unity, solidarity, responsibility, and trust. These are the pillars of our strategy for the present and for the future. Thank you very much for your attention.